Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Cradle News Roundup, coming to you live. My name is Esteban Carrillo. I am the news editor for the Cradle, and as usual, I'm joined by my colleagues, content creator and writer for the Cradle, Karim Shami, and content creator and social media manager for the Cradle, Sima Itaim. Before we start, just a reminder: as soon as you arrive, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure to check out our memberships here on YouTube, but more importantly, check out our Patreon, where you can become a direct supporter of the Cradle, support independent journalism. Let's start with the big news of the weekend, which was the UK, Canada, Australia, and Portugal as well, recognizing the state of Palestine, becoming part of the over 140 nations that already recognize a Palestinian state. Western states all of a sudden finding it necessary to do this recognition. I want to hear from you guys. What does this mean? What does recognition of a Palestinian state mean, especially considering what the Israeli Prime Minister said afterwards, which was, this is never going to happen. Well, I guess we'll get into that in a moment. I want to hear from you guys. What does it actually mean to recognize Palestine for these countries?
Netanyahu threatened, with his response and said that when he comes back from New York, he will, come out with that response and that everyone should wait for it, basically. Now, I wanted to ask you the same question, and I wanted to ask our viewers the same question. What does Palestine mean here for them? And which Palestine exactly are they recognizing, and what does it mean? Because they haven't stopped arms to Israel or made any effort to stop not only the genocide in Gaza, but settlement, expansion, and entrenchment in the occupied West Bank. And what are they recognizing? Are they recognizing their right to return, or their right to resist, or even their right to exist? Because as far as I can see, it's, a demilitarized Palestine. The idea, this abstract idea of a demilitarized, broken Palestine swallowed up by, settlements and, Jewish supremacist terrorism. And it's along the 67 borders, and it's all up in the air. And again, it's all conditional on, how well the Palestinian Authority behaves or not. And it's full of diktats and empty sentences and strange packages. And of course, the captives have to be released and this and that. And they basically want to wash the blood off their hands and show the world that, they're committed to a peaceful solution. So this is pretty much damage control. And, it means nothing on the ground. And I have been trying all day to think of, so what kind of positive spin I could give this. And I tried really hard, and I honestly have nothing to say. What is the case that one could make for this being an achievement of any sort, except that it somehow symbolically, slightly, diplomatically isolates Israel? I have no idea, and I have more to say, but I'll let Karim go, or you respond, and I'll get into the rest.
I think isolate is such a strong word for what is actually on the paper. What do you think, Karim? What does this even mean?
I think it's somehow a scam, because they did this because of their internal politics, and there is many pressure from the protests that are happening in these countries. I think they did this decision just to calm down their population. No, okay, we did what we can do, but essentially for the Palestinians, it means nothing, because already, as you said, there's like 100 plus countries that already recognize Palestine. The problem is that they want, as Sima said, a Palestine without an army, and already the lands that they recognize, or the current situation of the Palestinians under the rule of PA, is that they don't have a port, they don't have an airport, they don't even have their own currency. Everything they do and ask for, they are only getting anything that they need, especially money, and other things are from Israel. Recognizing Palestine doesn't mean that now you have your own separate country that you can travel to without passing through Israel. You can't send money to Palestinians in Palestine without passing through Israel. So essentially, unfortunately, it means nothing. And it will be as they did in Oslo back in the 90s. We had already such a deal, which is the Oslo deal. And what happened? after 30 years of this deal, we saw that Israel is still annexing parts of the West Bank and it's committing daily massacres in not only in Gaza and surrounding countries, especially in
Yes.
Lebanon and in Yemen. So I don't think it means anything. Unfortunately, it's a big propaganda scam. I think it's working, unfortunately, because many people are like cheering that this is happening, although it means nothing. And I don't think such countries are now as powerful as they were 90 years ago. We know what France and the UK did in our region. They divided our region. They committed a lot of massacres. They created many problems, including Israel. Now these countries are not as powerful as before. And if the UK recognized Palestine, it means nothing. UK currently is not China. UK currently is not Russia nor United States. I don't think in the international politics, UK alone can decide or change anything, alongside with France and Portugal and Canada. We all know that the main problem is the United States and Israel, and I think Netanyahu and the Israelis are willing to continue all the way until there's no support from the United States. They don't care to get support from any of these countries. Although these countries, they only organized Palestine. They didn't like boycott anything. Yani, till now, Israelis play football in Europe. Till now, Israelis sing in Europe. Till now, many materials that they use is used in Israel by the army is coming from these countries.
I mean, it's interesting. Well, there was a comment, I can't find it right now, but somebody in the chat said they're doing this to save Israel. And I have to agree with them because in this whole declaration of the two-state solution, and in particular the French and Saudi meeting conference that they're going to have later today, they talk about the two-state solution, which implies that any country that doesn't recognize Israel must recognize Israel. And this is, you must remember last week when they had like the big Arab Islamic summit that ended in a big nothing burger to respond to Israel. Iran afterwards came out and said, hey, like the joint statement calls for a two-state solution, and we are not down with that. We don't agree with that because it implies recognition of Israel. And what actually, the solution to this very improperly named conflict is the formation of one state, equal rights for all, equal democratic rights for all, including the Palestinians and the diaspora, the descendants of those who were ethnically cleansed during the Nakba. And we know this is not going to happen. So, of course, the French and the British and all the Europeans, what they want is we must protect this apartheid colony, this Jewish supremacist colony, by recognizing this imaginary state of Palestine that, like you said, Sima, where's the capital? How is it going to work? What rights are they going to have? What independence? Nothing. It's just imagination. It's complete imagination and, washing the blood of your hands. France is one of the leading countries in this conference for the two-state solution. And yet last year, they broke records buying weapons from Israel. And the same can be said, or similar things can be said for the rest of the European nations that are doing this. They do one thing. It is a distraction, as Karim said. I think this is a completely just a distraction, and is a way to protect their, extremist colony that is now threatening the entire region.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, and like someone in the comments said, it is helping because it's further legitimizing and integrating Israel into the region. Because if this were miraculously to be implemented, then it would mean that in response for this fake Palestinian state that wouldn't be a Palestinian state, anyone who has not recognized Israel would, and this would cement Israel's presence in the region further. I wanted to just read, a tweet by Electronic Intifada's Ali Abu Naama, which is, there are those who say that Israel punished the Palestinian people because of the resistance operation on October 7, and therefore falsely blame the resistance for the bestial crimes for which the Zionist colony and its backers are solely responsible. But watch now, as Netanyahu vows to punish the Palestinian people and the Abbas collaborator PA even more for the peaceful and diplomatic recognition of their imaginary West Bank and Gaza statelet. Britain, France, Canada, and Australia will be responsible for bringing that further Zionist vengeance and barbarism on the heads of the Palestinian people, because they will do nothing to stop it. And in fact, Israel will do it with their weapons and money, just as they continue to finance and arm the genocide in Gaza. Now, the point is also that although it may be true that Israel wants to annex the West Bank with or without recognition, and we can't say that if they hadn't recognized Israel would have behaved and not proceeded to annex the West Bank or moved to, as they are seeking to and moving towards now, both ways they would. But his point here is that by recognizing this imaginary statelet and then doing nothing to stop the punishment that comes from this recognition, you are even more complicit, and that really rings true with me. And just something I wanted to point out, in case anybody forgot, because we've talked about it before. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas is not even allowed to attend this summit. He will be attending via Zoom. So these entities who supposedly are recognizing Palestine to help Palestine could not even lobby to move the session from New York to Geneva, for instance. So you have this thing that's supposedly for Palestine, and PA officials are not even allowed to come to New York at all because America and Israel say they can't. So if you couldn't even, set up the summit somewhere other than New York so that Palestinian officials, as much as we may criticize them, they are, the officials that would be attending this thing, could attend. I mean, how am I supposed to take any of that seriously? How?
You can't. You can't. I mean, honestly, I think the tweet you read kind of highlights exactly the absurdity of this, right? No, the absurdity of them presenting it as some sort of solution. Like these nations presenting it as like, oh, look at us, look at how we are doing, right? 2 years into this Holocaust that it's, and the former Israeli defense chief, it was just a couple of weeks ago, he said we've killed at least 200,000, or there has been at least 200,000 casualties in Gaza. You're talking about 10% of the population. And then, the numbers we went over last week, which the death toll could reach as much as more than 600,000 already. You have, the incursion into Gaza City under a communication blackout. I mean, there's no attempt to stop this. There's no attempt to sanction, to close diplomatic embassies, to stop the arms flow, right? You have a government, like, for example, the Spanish government, that makes these big proclamations about ending all trade and weapons trade to Israel. It took them 2 years to do this. It took them 2 years of, from day one, this was a Holocaust. This didn't become a Holocaust, a year into it. The children of Amalek were fighting human animals. The Gaza is not going to have any food or energy or water. That was the first week that the Israeli leaders were saying this. And now, all of this time, the UN Commission of Inquiry just last week finally decided to be like, oh, yes, by the way, there is a genocide in Gaza, in case anybody hadn't noticed already. So it's a lot of virtual signaling. It's a lot of empty words, as they tend to be, right? Like at this
But
point,
it's also an insult. Like, it's not just
Yes.
spectacle, it's an insult. Like, everyone's like, oh, the UK created Israel, and 107 or 108 years later, it recognizes Palestine. Well, I mean, that's like throwing your victim like just like a bone. Like, oh, look, now we recognize. And honestly, the Palestinian Authority officials in the UK, I was watching TV and I saw them celebrating. What are you celebrating? I don't know. This thing of the two-state idea that France and Saudi are hosting to save the two-state solution idea, which is already dead. I mean, I just wanted to also point out that the US and Israel are boycotting this and dismissing it as performative and as a circus, actually. And, US touts the Israeli line, which is, oh, there can't be any recognition without negotiations between both sides in the first place. And as you know, that's because US wants to keep monopoly over the peace process, quote unquote, which is just a cover to continue taking Palestine, because negotiations, their favorite word, is a stalling tactic which has been used since the Oslo Accords, to cover up entrenchment, annexation, land grabs, and the continued killing, and slaughter of the Palestinian people. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Karim.
Yeah, I just want to clarify for some of our readers that we mentioned Mahmoud Abbas and the PA, which is the Palestinian Authority. We have to know that the PA under Mahmoud Abbas, they are against armed struggle. Their mission is to seize any weapons of resistance in the West Bank, and they did whatever the Israelis want or need. And sometimes they go further. Sometimes when something happens in the West Bank, they will initiate uh, and talk to the Israelis and tell them, we will try our best to get this guy who did like, or whatever, who shot on an Israeli soldier. So even after all of this, still, and the result was that still they don't want Mahmoud Abbas in the UN because the United States banned him and his fellows. And now Israel want to annex the whole West Bank. And yeah, just I want to
I mean,
clarify this.
just
Yani whatever
yesterday-
you do, they will do it. Yani I don't even think they will. I think they will say that okay, we will annex the West Bank to show everybody that there is no such thing as Palestine. But I think even if there were no 7 October and there is Netanyahu and Smotrich and Ben Gvir, this combo together, they would annex the West Bank no matter what.
That was the
course.
plan. That was the plan. I
Yeah.
mean, it shouldn't be any surprises. I wanted to mention that over the weekend, Gila Gamliel, who I think is Israel's innovation minister, she's a member of the Likud party, was on Channel 12, saying that Gaza must be made uninhabitable until the people leave, and that the same fate awaits the West Bank. I mean, how much clearer can you be than this? This is the plan. And no matter what, these countries just to like wash the blood of their hands, go and say, and this includes, the Gulf states, like, Saudi Arabia is supposed to be one of the sponsors of this two-state conference. MBS is not even gonna attend. He's gonna send a video address. This is how much they care about this topic, and it's just for the headlines. It's just so that like CNN and the BBC and the Guardian and etc. can have these headlines, and so that people can be like, oh my God, yes, finally they're
Yes,
doing something.
It was a very successful propaganda campaign.
True.
And they've been talking about it for more than 2 or 3 months, and every now and then we will recognize. Yalla, wait, we will recognize after 1 month, after 2 weeks, we will do this, we will do that. It's a huge propaganda campaign. And people, unfortunately, many people who support Palestine, they don't fully understand what's happening. And I'm glad we are clarifying this very important topic. And as I said, I think, in my opinion, they are doing this to tell or to sell it for their population, for their people.
Yes.
No, look, we did something for
I mean,
Palestine.
look at. I think we have some videos from the protests in Italy today. Like, it's a day of. It's a nationwide strike in which, like, the main labor union said we are going to paralyze the country's schools, businesses, everything, transportation, etc. Is shut down in Italy. The dock workers of the several. Can you lower it a bit? There you go. The dock workers have already said, several dock worker unions have said, we're not going to allow any weapon shipments to Israel to go through here. I mean, the burden of responsibility for stopping a genocide falling on the shoulders of the citizens, while the leaders of these nations, of the free world, especially of the European garden, right? Let's remember Joseph Borrell's famous words, is to continue arming Israel, to continue justifying this a horrific situation that has been unfolding in Gaza, and then to turn and, like Karim says, just be like, oh my God, there's protests, we better do something, we better put out some headlines. But I think, at least if this is any sign to go by, I feel like this whole recognition sham is not really going to change much on the streets.
No, I mean, I'm going to try to be positive that it symbolically matters. I mean, I'm trying to force myself to.
Bless your heart, Sima, for doing that.
To be
Yeah, I
honest,
mean,
Seema,
that these are countries that have always been like solidly in Israel's camp, and now they've broken ranks, like they're isolating Israel, and it's boosting Palestinian morale, and
How
it
is
signals
Israel
that the
being
world is
isolated?
shifting. I mean, the world is shifting, but
I mean, popular opinion, completely. Like, when you're talking about the actual citizens, yes, completely. But, I don't buy this whole, like, Israel's being isolated. How? I want to see how. How is Israel being isolated? It's not. It's turning itself into a pariah. Yes, they are, decidedly doing it to themselves, because this is what they believe is going to bring, like, we don't need to get into a whole religious discussion, but it's the most extreme belief of Zionism that they need to like have the whole world fighting against them, against the chosen people. So they are gladly doing this, right? Like they are. When you see like when they see the polls and the because I saw something that even evangelical like the youth, the younger evangelical Christians in the U.S. Support for Israel is dipping. They don't mind. Israel is not afraid. Like the Netanyahu government is not afraid at all. And then you have, the opposition, the left in Israel, like Yair Lapid, the former prime minister, saying we will never have a government with the Arabs. He gave these statements just a few days ago. The Arabs are not going to be part of a future government. So where exactly, can Palestinians turn to? Where exactly can it? Not just the Palestinians in Gaza or the Palestinians in the West Bank who have, by default, been forgotten and abandoned, but the Arabs, right? The Palestinians with Israeli citizenship or, from the 48 territories, they're going to turn to them as well. Like this is not just about I think, Karim, you said it last week, and that stuck with me. I think you really worded it perfectly. They don't say death to Palestinians. They say death to Arabs.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They've done it since day one, since the 40s, and till now you're seeing that Arabs, especially the people in the Gulf, they are still, they are still trying to watch their words, not to piss off the Israelis, not because they are afraid of them militarily, because they're just afraid to make them upset, because for them they are the ultimate masters, and the weaker you are, and if you don't have dignity and etc., you will obey the strong, and for them Israel is strong and the United States is strong, unfortunately. So that's how they act. And of course, and we saw what happened in Qatar. Maybe next will be Saudi Arabia, I don't
Egypt.
know, Sultanate Oman, and even Netanyahu threatened indirectly China. So we'll see what this will lead. He said that China and
Qatar.
Qatar, they are hosting Hamas members, and we will fight them and
Right.
find them wherever they are. So we will see this also. By the way, it made headlines in China. Of course, in the West, you will never hear such a news. You want to
The-
say
the-
something, Sima?
Yeah, no, what you said about China and Qatar, he also said they were the ones isolating Israel, and Israel. Do you remember the speech he made about like Israel's economy and how
the super Sparta.
yeah, exactly. Which is him, essentially admitting that Israel's kind of under siege in a way, but I mean, it's so dramatic. I mean, come
To
on.
be honest, also I want to clarify something. He said this not for the Israelis and not for his people. He said this during the when 250 U.S. official went there. He was gaining empathy. I think so. I don't think he would say it in Hebrew or for his people. I think it was recorded and spread without him like acknowledging that this will make headlines. To be honest, because we know he always he knows how to gain empathy from the West since the 80s, since he was Israel UN representative in the UN.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we have to wait. He's also set to speak at the UN General Assembly. I'm sure he's going to have more than a couple of visual aids, as he
yeah,
likes to do.
he's very talented.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe we should move on to another topic because unless you guys have something else to add, I feel like we've covered I guess.
No, I'm just so fed up with the Arabs, like pushing for this two-state thing, and like that's it. I mean, we can wrap it up, but again, the Israelis claim that the Palestinians and the Arabs never accepted like a two-state formation, which is a lie, and that's why it's just insulting. It's so insulting at this point that they're still they're still holding on to this because the Palestinians accepted Oslo, the Camp David was accepted, the Arab Peace Initiative of 2001, if I'm not mistaken, or was it 2003? I don't remember. So it's Israel who consistently refused and continued building settlements. And this is a dead framework. It's not just dead, it's completely void. And it's just such an insult to be bringing this up again because they are trying to find a way to achieve peace or stability in the region, for the sake of their economic ventures and their futures and, Saudi's 2030, this and that and everything. And I mean, it's not going to work. And it's insulting our intelligence. That's all I wanted
Yeah,
to say.
and
Other
what
than how disrespectful it is to a people being slaughtered, a people being completely slaughtered nonstop, it is insulting everyone's intelligence and the Palestinians' intelligence, first of all. That's
yeah,
all.
and I
Indeed.
think what came out from the Qatar summit, it was simply telling Israel, you have a green light, do whatever you want. There's no, يعني we can't do anything, and we will not do anything.
I mean, do you know this whole idea of Donald Trump being fed up with the genocide? Remember the like 50 different reports of Biden and Trump being fed up. He over this weekend, he was asked like, "Hey, like, the UN just said there's a genocide in Gaza. Do you agree?" And he's like, "I haven't seen a genocide in Gaza. Did they commit a genocide on October 7th?" There's the peacemaker, Donald Trump. I want to thank Gulnara Marchis, good friend here of the podcast, for their super chat. Thank you so much. Make sure to hit that like button, guys. As we said, the Palestinian Authority president, a completely illegitimate figure, is barred from going to New York, right? He was completely banned. Marco Rubio is also declared that he was going to ban Palestinian passports in general. One man who is not banned from going to New York, the self-appointed president of Syria. 24 years ago, Al-Qaeda went to New York in a couple of planes that brought down the Twin Towers. You know, maybe not. I know there's
Or
some
so they
questions.
say.
Or so they say. Good, well put. In any case, they went to New York and they flew two planes into the Twin Towers. That we know for sure. 24 years later, Al Qaeda is back in New York, and boy, are they back in style. I don't know if you have the picture, Karim, of our good friend, the former leader of ISIS and former founder of Al Qaeda in Syria, Abu Muhammad Al-Jolani, who now goes by the name of Ahmad al-Shara, is in New York City. Al Qaeda is back, guys. Al Qaeda is back, hopefully not to fly any planes into any buildings. He's set to speak at the UN General Assembly. I mean, what world are we living in? Honestly, I am. I mean, I rather laugh than cry at this point. It is so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. I want to hear your thoughts about our friend
I
Shara.
don't have any thoughts on this, Esteban. Show some respect. He's the liberator of Syria.
He loves diversity, Sima. He's the diversity-friendly jihadis. That's what they will call them, right?
I want to ask you guys, what is he there to do other than iron out the details of the security agreement with Israel? What's he there for? I mean, on the sidelines. I know he's there to speak at the summit and attend the
Look
summit,
at
but
this fashionable gentleman with the trim beard, no more turbans, no more debt to America, no more $10 million bounty. He's here to impress. I mean, I am pretty convinced that he is at the UN to accept any treaty that the Israelis present to them, right? I feel like we're going to have a picture of Jolani here shaking the hands of Benjamin Netanyahu. Not, of course, until it happens, we don't know if that's actually the case. But I do feel that this is about that, right? About I don't know, because they want to portray this agreement that they would reach with between Israel and Syria as look, peace can be achieved in West Asia when the reality is completely different, and we can get into that in a moment. What do you think, Karim? What do you think Shara is going to be doing in New York?
First, I'm still amazed of what's happening. That was so fast, and they didn't even يعني shut whatever. Sorry, I don't even think they worked hard enough to conceal this. يعني for me, I thought, okay, Shara is there. He will finish the agenda. Then they will get rid of him, and then they will make Syria go to the UN and these stuff. But I didn't think for 1 second that they will let Sharia do all of this. So I'm still in shock. I'm not in denial, but but in shock. And he's like a chameleon. How he can adapt for all of these things. It's really astonishing. And this guy was first in Iraq. He used to make bombs and make them explode in civilians. Then he went to Syria to fight the government, his own country, and of course he committed massacres for the minorities, if they are Alawite, Shia, or Christians. And now he's in the West. So I know I don't know. That's too much. And imagine you're an Amir, a Salafist extremist Amir in Idlib. You might order your friend or the one under you to behead another guy who looked on a girl, or you can like imprison a girl because her hands appeared, and now you're in New York giving
Yeah.
selfies. That's
Yeah,
insane.
I wonder, if is he gonna go visit the site of the 9/11 of the World Trade Center? Like let's go full circle at least now, guys. The his foreign minister Shaibani, who's also former Al Qaeda commander, arrived a few days earlier. He actually went to the Pentagon. He was at the Pentagon with Thomas Barak. Uh, and now it's more difficult to actually find out what happened there because you must have seen the news that the Pentagon now is like is ordering journalists to not report on any leaks. They can only be allowed to report on information that is approved by the Pentagon, and if not, they're going to lose their press passes. So I feel like we're heading towards calamity. I feel like the genocide in Gaza is more of a preview than the end game. I feel like this is really just the start of things. And Shara playing his role, right? Like you said, Karim, he went from the Emir of Idlib to the president, self-appointed president of Syria. How are the elections going in Syria, by the way? They started last week. No citizens allowed to vote, but elections
Yeah,
in the
I just
democratic
want.
Syria.
Yeah, I just want to throw this information. I just saw it while searching for the picture. So the head of CIA met with Al-Sharia in a panel, and he said to Sharia, "You have many admirers, and I am one of them." So that's too much. Wallah, I can't.
Well, he's a mentor, not an admirer, but he has to say admirer.
That's what he said. Yeah. So it's insane. Wallah, it's insane.
It really is, like it shouldn't be. At this point, we should be a bit immune, but this is just so ridiculous. And like, it's been
Yeah.
like, it's September 22nd, guys, like keep some formality, at least keep some like respect for what happened. Imagine being a family member of like one of the many, many people who died on that day and seeing, the founder of Al-Qaeda in Syria walking down and like meeting with Trump. In any case, yeah, like the situation in Syria, as I said, every time it gets worse. We saw a few weeks ago the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that there's been at least 10,000 executions in Syria. That most of them are, I think, a third of them are civilians. You have the disappearances of women, the kidnappings, the ethnic cleansing, etc. And now, yeah, the guy whose army is doing all of this, whose army of like Takfiri extremists, he's also gonna be speaking at the Middle East Institute. I mean, he really does have a tour. If you're in New York, you might run into our friend Giuliani here.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said this never happened. Usually they work for this. You know what I mean? They 1 year, 2 years, they will like report in New York Times or whatever about this guy that he did something good. Then like he will be mentioned in a movie, but suddenly all of this, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean it's
Really.
it's crazy and not crazy at the same time because this is so understandable that someone groomed by them would have a seat there. It's being celebrated as the first Syrian president to come in 60 years. I mean, of course they removed Bashar al-Assad so that he could come. I mean, he is totally, under their
Their
wing
control,
and
their thumb. Yeah.
under their everything, and this has been going on for years, and we've been observing it. And what would be crazy was if, for example, Yahya Sinwar was still alive and he ended up in New York. I mean, that would be crazy, right? But Ahmad al-Sharia ending up in New York is like, like the Cradle news headline from today said, Al-Qaeda comes home. I mean, he was conceived by them and by British intelligence, and
Yeah.
of course, there's Britain and Qatar involved, but I mean, fully, they love him. They absolutely love him, and it only makes sense that he would be there. Um,
I mean, in
and this is
the
the new picture now. So enjoy the picture, I
Yeah,
guess.
he's with David Patrius. It's insane, and if yeah, I don't know.
in the yeah in
He was the guy like who took over after the CIA after 9/11, if I'm not mistaken. It's insane. And he was the
yeah.
head of the CIA from 2011 to 2012, and that's when the problems in Syria erupts. Yani, as you said, Sima, he should be proud of him, not admire him, because he's the recruiter, maybe.
Yes, yes.
the absurdity of the times that we have been forced to live in. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'm really actually looking forward to Shara's speech because I don't know what he's gonna come out with. For sure, talk about these very democratic elections that he's holding in Syria and
Aren't
how
they
they are
scheduled
keeping order.
for October, by the way, like 5 October?
They started last week. They
But
started last week and they were supposed to like last for a few days, but nobody's actually allowed to vote, from what we understand. There's
yeah,
no
no.
actual voting taking place. It's just, I guess, like negotiations between the different committees that are appointed at the end by by this diversity-friendly government that has been imposed on Syria. Many things happening in Lebanon too. There's been very severe bombings over the past couple of days. Yesterday, an entire family was killed in the south, including
Yeah,
three
yeah.
children. Images so horrific we cannot put them on air. In any case, why don't you guys let us know what's been happening in Lebanon? What's the latest?
Well, I want Karim to go, but I just wanted to say that basically at least 5 people were murdered. 4 of them were members of the same family. There was a car in which the family was in, and there was a motorcycle, and a man on the motorcycle was murdered. And then in the car, you had a man and 3 of his daughters were murdered, and his wife and his other daughter injured. And this is just, in Binjbel, this happened. And we saw this wave of condemnations from Lebanese officials that we don't often see because, unfortunately, children were involved, very young children. But these condemnations will go nowhere. Um, and it was just a very difficult day, especially coming up to the 1 year of, the larger war and the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, and the escalation on the when it comes, in terms of now we'll get into it. Tom Barak's latest threats, really implicit threats towards Lebanon. These violations are taking place every day, right? And
Last week, the Lebanese army said 4,500 violations, and I feel like that's such a low count.
the problem is this is all war crime after war crime. Like, I'm so sick of people talking about how, like, again, this is horrific, but even if there are no children involved, it is a war crime to target any man, even if he is a member of Hezbollah, if he is not in combat. Can we please like clear this up once and for all? And the same was
Yeah,
the
according
case
to
with the
international law,
pager.
yes.
Same was the case with the pages. These, like, you can, like, a guy just standing outside of his house, like a guy just driving somewhere, that is illegal. So this whole, like, let's dehumanize men and it's only a problem when it's children, even though of course we can all agree that killing children is one of the most horrific things you could do. But it's, what my point is, these are war crimes every day. It's not like now suddenly it matters, you know? And that's not to take away from the fact that these babies were slaughtered for no reason whatsoever. But I just wanted to clear that up again, because this is so, even the Lebanese here who are like not concerned with what's happening in the south. Oh, well, it's just Hezbollah guys. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is not acceptable. I don't know how we coexist with these people. I'm sorry for going on that
No,
rant,
it's
but
fine.
I'm done with like
It's good to highlight that like these are war crimes. No matter how you look at them, no matter when you cannot kill enemy combatants when they are with their families. Like you said, Sima, this is simply a war crime. Karim, do you have anything to add?
I agree with Sima 100%, but unfortunately, they succeeded. And even in Lebanon, the propaganda, as I always mention, is so huge. It's so huge. As Sima said, if he was a man, and even if he was not with Hezbollah, just a man passing by, nobody even will ask if he was with Hezbollah. Okay, Israel killed a man, and just move on. This will never ever happen in any other country in the world. And that's so sad because Lebanon is a very small country. You can drive from the south to the north in a few hours. And you see, and that's a thing that I always imagine or think about since I was young. There's countries that are huge compared to Lebanon, and believe me, there's many countries that are huge. If anything happens in such countries, I feel that most of the population care. Here in Lebanon, you can go from Beirut to the south in 1 hour, and nobody cares, and especially the government. And that's all thanks to the propaganda and thanks to the people that are funded by the Gulf countries and by the West that go to our TVs and implement such a disease, a mind disease to the people.
For propaganda,
And yeah, propaganda. And here in Lebanon, to be honest, most of the channels, even websites or social media, even social media uh, pages, they are funded by the West. Yani. That's also an extreme thing to me. Yani. Lebanon is a very small country. Uh, يعني the readers usually in Lebanon, they are not huge, and usually you can see like a couple hundred of thousand for a channel, and then you go to their website and you will see that they are funded by the European Union,
Yeah, by the
by like
net. In
yeah,
general, in
NGOs,
general, yeah.
whatever.
This is also,
Yeah.
I guess, you're giving me an opportunity, Karim, to say this is why you must support outlets like The Cradle. So make sure to
Okay.
leave a like
Sorry.
and check out our subscriptions on Patreon because this is independent journalism. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to add that bit of
Yeah, yeah,
our
no
own
problem.
propaganda.
No, that's what I wanted to say. So, first, the weakening of Hezbollah led to this, and second, getting like Mahmoud Abbas 2.0 to Lebanon also led to this. So now you have a government that is like Jordan and like the PA. They don't care. They only answer the Americans and they only clarify if Israel have يعني has a question. They don't clarify to the people. They don't clarify to anybody. The only problem for them, literally, in Lebanon is that we don't have. Sorry, because we have weapons and there's Hezbollah. So for them, if you remove this, then we can move forward to the country. Again, I said it and I will say it again. We don't have electricity. We don't have water. The money are stuck in the banks. Uh, you will see holes and the most terrible roads in the world in Lebanon. Everything is not working. There's many things, and they bypassed everything. And all what the government is doing is just telling us when, where, how, and why they want to remove the weapons. They don't even talk about electricity, which is very essential in, in any country. So that's the reality that are we living in. But yeah, my country disappointed me. I thought يعني at least we have to fight like for 20 years for this to happen. But eventually, just a 2 months war and a guy called, what is called?
Boom.
Our prime minister. Sorry, I forgot.
Salam.
Salam. Yeah, just a guy and 2 month war, and we became Jordan 2.0, which is
Well, I mean, it's not over, but I mean, it's a slump right now, but
the
it's
current situation
not
is
over.
unfortunately like this, Sima. If
Yeah,
you
you see
go,
it like this. I mean, we don't
yeah,
know what will happen in
yeah,
5 years.
yeah, but I love to clarify for our listeners because they are English speakers and this information is very difficult to find elsewhere. And for instance, if I go now and curse Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah at his memorial, nothing will happen in Lebanon. If you go and say anything for about any party that is against Hezbollah, there's a high chance you will be prosecuted. And this happened to many people in Lebanon and even famous people and journalists.
Very
I
true.
mean,
Very
yeah,
true.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're working with Israel, nothing happens to you here in Lebanon,
Yeah,
isn't it?
100%. يعني we had the case, we had the case that there was a guy who was convicted that he worked with the Israelis and he uh, gave them something related to Wi-Fi and password and
And
connectivity.
the pagers also
And the
connected to
pager, yeah, he was part of the pagers, and now he
He was
was
free.
released, and he was protected by the government. Nobody knows where he was. After 4 days, he made an interview on a TV station called Al-Jadid, saying what happened. That's unfortunately, yani, that's the place that we are in now in Lebanon. So I just want people to know.
It's the
But as
state
you
of
said,
things. Yeah.
eventually, Sima, something must happen because till now, from Hezbollah and the support of Hezbollah, nothing happened after the assassination of Sayyid Hassan. Everybody is silent. And to be honest, I also blame Hezbollah because Hezbollah, they gave their their votes to this government. Without Hezbollah, this government will not appear. Maybe they hoped something else or something happens, which is a bigger disaster for me.
or they didn't have a choice at the moment. I mean, that's highly possible.
There's always a choice.
We don't want to
Depending.
repeat the same debate. I mean,
Okay, Sima.
I mean, you know
This
what I
debate,
mean?
I
yeah,
just
Like it's
wanted
but
to
the
ask you.
classic Kareem. Like I agree with you, but I'm just saying, like it's like
I,
I think it's healthy to blame everyone to an extent. So I'm not against you that. But yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys because I saw this quote from Naim Qassem, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, a couple of days ago, in which he actually calls on Saudi Arabia and kind of like I don't have his exact quote right now, but what he said, the gist of it was like maybe we should get together and see if we can join forces. What do you guys make of that? I mean, honestly, the Saudis are never going to go for that. But what do you think? What do you think about this position that Hezbollah is taking? That is like, there's an obvious threat against all Arabs. Maybe
Well,
we should
that's the
work together.
context. Yeah, that's the context. It's the strike on Qatar. It's the fact that Larijani recently sat with Mohammed bin Salman. And it's, the fact that Saudi is playing a very big role in not only pressuring the resistance to disarm, but also preventing reconstruction if the resistance doesn't disarm. Correct me if I'm wrong, Karim. You can pick up from where I left off, but that's just the context for me as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Qatar was hit. You have no, the U.S. is not like a proper security guarantor. This is also in the wake of Saudi doing the defense pact with Pakistan. So it's just kind of I don't know what the word is in English, but it's just, let's turn a new page. Let's
Do you think
focus
the
on
Saudis will go for that,
the
Karim?
one and only enemy in the region. I mean, I don't believe so. I don't think Karim believes the Saudis will go for
I
that
don't think
either.
any
Go
of us
ahead,
believe it.
Karim.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, to be honest, we don't know what's really the
Behind it.
Saudis thinking or will do. But of course, if Sharmin was here, she would say that yes, they are shifting. But in my opinion, until I see clear evidence, Saudi is just an extension for the Western hegemony as Israel is, but in different ways. As simple as that, يعني. يعني as South Korea is an extent, for instance, in the East, for China and for North Korea and for Russia, for instance, it has a certain role to play, and Japan also, for instance. Saudi Arabia has a certain role to play in West Asia and across the Arab world. They have the power of money, or the illusion of the power of money, because they are not that rich as people think. The GDP of Saudi Arabia is as like any other European country, although they have the most powerful company in the world, Aramco. But I'm just clarifying this because I'm so pissed every now and then people think that Saudi Arabia is as rich as like countries like whatever, Japan or Germany on these stuff. No, they are not.
I
So,
mean,
but
individually, it's
unfortunately,
the Al Saud family.
that
So the country
yeah,
Yeah.
of
itself.
course, man. To be honest, it's like psychological. If you don't have money and suddenly you have money, you want to show off, and or if you have money and you don't work for this money, you can show them off. Exactly, the Saudis, they do nothing, man.
But
So
my question to you is, why do you
no,
think?
I'm just yes, I'm just clarifying this because Al Saud people might not know. Every family that has Al Saud in Saudi Arabia, they have a percentage from the oil product produced in their country. You don't even have to work or do anything. You are Al Saud. You have I don't know, maybe 0.02 that goes to your bank account. Though. That's why they have money, and they love to show it because they didn't even shed one what's called
Drop of sweat.
yeah, a drop of sweat. Yes,
Uh,
Seema.
no, so in light of all this that you're saying, what then is Naim Asim's intention?
I think I don't know. I'm not an expert on Naim Asim. He's not Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. Yani you still need to listen years for him to understand him, maybe. And they still till now this is a big mistake that Hezbollah is doing. They should not be vague. They should say it as it is. So for me, of course, because he said it in their minds, maybe because we are in a strong position where we can ask Saudi Arabia to at least be on our side for once, or to switch somehow sides, although they can't. Because for me, as I said before, when Hezbollah was weakened, Syria was lost, Iraq was put aside, and then Israel was able to go to bomb Iran as they went and bombed Qatar. So the first uh, the first wave that should protect the Arab world and defend the Arabs and Muslims was Hezbollah. But Hezbollah was weakened not only by Israel, was weakened internally by the allies of Saudi Arabia in the region. Until now, we had the memorial of the civil war in Lebanon. What we saw that the Saudi ambassador came and he was with the people that killed Palestinians and ignited the civil war. For me, this says everything. يعني for instance, we have in Lebanon Kataib party. They say يعني it's known. They initiated the war by firing, by opening fire on a bus that had children in Ain al-Rimmani, and that's and then they were the ones that made massacres on Palestinians. Okay, where did we see the Saudi Arabia go? To the pager, people that died in the pager? No, they went and sat with these people. So this tells me everything. So I don't think Saudi Arabia will shift, at least for now, because all their weapons are American and they can do whatever
Fair
they
enough.
want with it. And yeah,
Fair
and
enough.
for me, if I was him, I wouldn't say it, to be honest. Yani. But who knows? Maybe.
I feel like he says it because I don't know. There's like this approach. Like remember Iran, right? Like Iran again is saying they're gonna end cooperation with the IAEA because of the snapback sanctions, and the parliament is again saying that they want to that they should study a nuclear deterrence. That they should shift their security doctrine due to the threats. This is kind of a repeat. This is a bit of a repeat. Let's hope that at least this time it holds, especially after everything that they already know about how the IAEA helped Israel with their attacks.
There's-
And but I still feel like from the axis, there's like this need to exhaust all options. I don't know how else to say it.
It's
To
the
be like,
strategic patience and the Iranian diplomacy. That's what I'd call it. But just since we don't have enough time, I'm sorry, Esteban, just quickly, because we were talking about Tom Barak and Morgan Ortegas, who, if I'm not mistaken, is here now. If
getting
I'm
her
not
hair done
mistaken.
again.
I think so. But so Tom Barak said today in an interview, speaking of like weakening resistance and disarming, that Hezbollah is rebuilding its strength. He reiterates that Hezbollah is our enemy and Iran is our enemy, and we need to cut off the heads of these snakes and stop their funding. Israel holds 5 positions in southern Lebanon and will not withdraw from them. Hezbollah is rebuilding its strength, and the government must take responsibility. All Lebanon does is talk. No real action has been taken. The Lebanese government must clearly declare that it will seize Hezbollah's weapons. So they're not satisfied. There will be an escalation on Lebanon, as yesterday is an escalation, don't get me wrong, but we will see further escalation again in the southern suburbs of Beirut, and we don't know where else. And on the same day, you have Netanyahu saying to the Israeli army general staff, we must destroy the Iranian axis, and we're capable of doing so, so you haven't destroyed it yet. Netanyahu declares that the coming Jewish New Year, which starts on the eve of 22 September, today, if I'm not mistaken, will be the year of destroying the Iranian axis, stressing that the new year will be historic for Israel's security. Now, I'm not reading this out to everyone because the Israelis or the Americans are so important, but what they say is because it's obvious, especially with what's happened with Iran and the snapback being triggered and all of that there will be escalation against Iran and Hezbollah again, which means, that this is not over. And
I mean,
it's
they
not
want Hezbollah back in the
wrapped
fray. They're
up.
desperate. They're desperate to get Hezbollah firing rockets or mobilizing troops again, so that they can, continue with their plan. I mean,
But they're
Netanyahu is
doing it anyway. Like Hezbollah's just sitting there and trying to honor like the government's, incompetence and trying to honor the agreement and not responding while their people are being massacred for no reason at all most of the time, if not like literally. Like I'm saying from the Israeli perspective, they were rebuilding infrastructure and it's like someone's house,
Look, I want to say something. The more time passes, the more Zionist the government of Lebanon will be. That's a fact. That's يعني, they are
Well, yeah,
working like this. And just 2 days ago, you have a deputy in the parliament or an ex-deputy of the parliament, I will make sure now, he said that there's weapons in Baalbek, which is the famous Roman ruins in
Temple of
Lebanon.
Jupiter.
Yeah, I will put a picture of it now. He said he went to TV, and you'll see the anchor. He's saying, she's like this. Oh, really? Are you sure? Oh, you saw them? So he went there and said that there's under the ruins there's weapons and missiles, and that means that he's asking Israel to come and bomb Baalbek, and that's insane. That's a Lebanese guy who's part of the Lebanese umbrella government, and he said that, and nothing will happen to him. And He's giving Israel and the United States legitimacy to go to Baalbek and bomb it, which is the most famous thing in Lebanon. So we reached this point, yani. If you go back 2 months ago, what they were talking about, yeah, we saw weapons in Baalbek. Now they are telling, no, خلاص, bomb the city, bomb the ruins. That's what they are saying. Yani previously, they were asking Hezbollah, hand over your weapon, you're welcome to the country, as if they have the say. Now they are saying, all the Shias and the people from Hezbollah, they are Iranians, they can go back to Iran. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it. I'm saying it since 1 year. I know nobody listens to me, but I've been saying it. The actions should be taken. And people will tell me, no, what you want, a new war? I don't
No,
want
no, we agree. We all agree.
Lebanon, what happened in Syria to happen in Lebanon.
What's
As
happening
simple
in
as that.
Syria? Yeah.
And
What's
what's
still
still happening in
Yeah.
Syria. Yeah, it's
But
insane.
there was this very interesting news item a couple of days ago, and I just want to mention it because this is kind of the situation that Lebanon finds itself in. And it's that the defaulted government bonds nearly quadrupled in price over the past year because investors apparently are betting on signs of economic recovery. So there's this interest, right, of like, oh, look, we can recover our economy. Investors are finally buying our bonds again, and things are going to be fine. And at the same time, the constant threat, right? Like, I don't disagree with you, Karim, but there's like so many factors at play here and like so many threats that can be pulled, especially in a country like Lebanon, that is like, you just activate one crisis after the other, and then in the hopes that the Lebanese will just start shooting each other and make the job easier for the occupation entity. And now they're going to use the economy again, because now they can point at like, hey, look, the bonds are doing well, but then all of a sudden, if Hezbollah has to, start fighting back because of all of the provocations, then oh no, that's gonna again crash.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I don't know if Sima mentioned it, but also Barak said that we have to find them economically and we should drain
Oh, yeah.
any their
And they're
source
still
of.
getting money in, 60 million, I don't know how much, whatever it was.
Yeah, so first, this is Baalbek. That's what a Lebanese guy who's in the government, a deputy, wants Israel to come bomb.
Karim, someone's
So,
asking you where is this and what channel was it? I think he wants to like look for it. Do you remember his
The
name? Do you
interview.
remember
yeah,
what
of course, I can.
You can provide the
If,
link.
if he's yeah, I can say it now. If he's Lebanese, if no, he has to share to check where is it. So give me 10 seconds and I will find it.
Meanwhile, there's some interesting comments. I mean, where's Charmine?
Where's
Like many of
Charmaine?
them. There is
Charmaine's
someone saying
on
that my
special assignment.
just to lighten the mood, there's someone saying that my glasses perfectly fit my face. Thank you very much. I'm going to air some of the Cradle's dirty laundry now and tell you that I am consistently bullied by Karim and Charmine about my glasses. They say that they make me look very old and they don't fit my face. So thank you for that comment. And now you know that Charmine and Karim bully me. And
Sima, you did a
that
mistake.
was like a special, tidbit for you.
Sima, you did a mistake
What was that?
because that's the only guy who will like your glasses.
Did you find it, Karim?
No, we can move over. I will find it. Yeah, I found it.
You found it?
Yes.
I think, well, I mean, until Karim pulls it up just to give this information. Another
Yeah,
interesting thing is just like, is Trump preparing to go back to Afghanistan? What do you guys make of those comments about Bagram Air Base? I mean, it's obvious to monitor China, right? That's what they talk about. Like, it's close to the Chinese border. It's also close to Pakistan. To me, this whole Saudi-Pakistan deal, defense mutual pact, it still feels a bit. I'm not sure what to make of it yet, because I have many questions about Saudi Arabia in particular and the government of Pakistan, which are not, I find very trustworthy. But now Trump seems to want back in Afghanistan, and the first couple of times for the U.S. didn't end well, either one. I mean, publicly, it didn't end well, right? Because I guess what they actually tried to do, with controlling the drug routes, the opioid trade, we have very interesting articles about that. I would recommend people go and check those out. The heroin bonanza, etc. What do you think, Karim? Is Trump headed back to Afghanistan?
He might. He might. I don't think they should not. and I don't think he will invade, but maybe they will start bombing as they are doing in Venezuela. Unfortunately, they are trying new weapons.
They
He
are. They
might
are.
go there. He might bomb the weapons that are there. Nobody knows. So I just want to clarify for our readers, the guy who said this, he was a deputy in the parliament for Lebanese Forces Party. His name is Antoine Zahra. They can look him up. Lebanese Forces, Antoine Zahra. He said it.
He's the one who said it.
Yeah, so yeah, يعني not only Afghanistan, I think Trump wants his hands to reach everywhere, and he wants to send messages to many people. يعني not only in our region, he wants to send messages to Russia, to China, to any country that is thinking to like shift from the U.S. hegemony, especially after the latest BRICS summit. We saw him that he went crazy and he made many tweets about it. So I think, yeah, he wants to put his foot again in Afghanistan, and now they are trying to do the same in South America through the bombings that they are doing. And I think they till now they bombed like three boats, if I'm not mistaken.
Three boats,
Yeah,
and
three boats.
summary executions, extrajudicial
Yeah,
executions.
and especially that the countries surrounding Afghanistan, they are so weak. Yani, Pakistan will not say no, for instance. Other countries will not
Highly
say
doubt
no.
it, yeah.
Yeah, and currently, I think Russia wants to end the war in Ukraine. I don't think they will stand against
He had some
such a
interesting
decision.
comments. Yeah, this week, and Trump, he said like we are benefiting from the war between Russia and Ukraine because NATO is buying weapons from us. I mean, this man every so often he just comes out with like a very truthful statement, like very honest statement of the in a geopolitical situation. And
He
I don't
is.
know. I feel like this whole Afghanistan thing, it's always gonna be the trap. This is like the death trap for empires, and it seems Trump is just like desperate to go back into it. Anything that brings us closer to the
Yeah,
to
yeah, yani, he said it. He said he's pissed because they built this base and there's like the infrastructure is American and there's American weapons there, so that's what he is pissed for. Yani. I think they might bomb it because he asking Taliban to hand over the base is so crazy it's at its own. So we'll see what will happen, or he might forget about it as many decisions that he took and he didn't
Yes.
fulfill.
He
To be
does. He
honest,
does
yeah,
like to talk a lot. Well, it seems Sima has some technical issues. She
yeah.
got disconnected. Not uncommon in Lebanon, as Karim says, is a country that unfortunately lacks many. Well, it's a country with many problems. In any case, I think we can wrap up for this week. We'll continue, of course, on Thursday. We'll dive deeper into these issues. We'll dive deeper also, of course, in the UN General Assembly. Whatever happens there. Before you leave, please make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Check out our memberships here on the YouTube channel. And more importantly, above all, check out our Patreon. You can become a direct supporter of The Cradle. Please support independent journalism. Please help us continue doing the work that we do here. Censorship is every day getting worse. It's not going to stop, but we are here. We are going to continue to be here for as long as you allow us. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.